To this session that we're working with you on today. This is our unconferencing session. It gives you a chance to meet some new people, share some ideas, and myself and Caitlin are going to be chatting with you for the next little while. So we'll go ahead and get started with an icebreaker activity. There may be some more people that join us as we go along, and we'll bring them over into the activity as well. So before we get started, let's just go ahead and say hello real quick. These are some photos of us. This is us in real life. So hi, I'm Susan. I'm a customer success manager at Miro. We were thinking about superpowers, and a great superpower that you could have. Mine would definitely be to travel quickly, because it would be amazing to be able to see my friends and family all over the world. So that would be my superpower. Caitlin, how about you?
Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin Morgan. I'm also a customer success manager at Miro, and my superpower would be to fly. I still have vivid memories of my childhood dreams where I could actually fly, and I wish I could still do that. But it's nice to meet you all today. Thanks again for joining the Unconference activity. We know this is a little bit untraditional, and we're really excited to have you all here so that we can start some really meaningful dialogue. As we were thinking about concepts and ideas to talk about within Miro, or within the session today, we really thought it would be nice, now that you've had a number of days of really meaningful presentations and topics, if we had a chance to really unpack anything that we learned and meet some of your colleagues and thought leaders in the space. So we wanted to kind of create a space where you could actually workshop, share ideas, new learnings, and that we as a group could go and explore those a little bit deeper. So the goal of today is we're going to take a couple minutes to just brainstorm, throw on some stickies, ideas that have come up in the conversations and topics that you've been having over the last couple of days. As a group, everyone can kind of brainstorm, dump their ideas on here. Then we'll go through a quick voting activity to see which ideas and concepts everybody want to discuss most. And then we'll go through and actually kind of break out and start talking about those as a team to make this really interactive and getting everyone involved. So before I dive into the brainstorm discussion topics, are there any questions from anybody that I can help clarify before we move into the next part of the activity? Perfect. Feel free to unmute yourself, drop it in the chat. We want this to be interactive, so by all means, please get on here and do this. I'm going to go ahead and drop in another link in the chat so that you guys can come to this session of the board. And Susan, if you'll bring everyone to you as well, for anyone who's already on the board, feel free to do that. If you're not on the board, again, please feel free to join us here. The next part of this is I'm going to set another timer, so we'll have 3 minutes to brainstorm ideas or just drop concepts and ideas that have come up during the sessions onto a sticky note here. We've also created some additional stickies, so you can add those here as well. For example, you may find yourself wanting to talk about different, let me find another topic, different tools that people are using for, remote UX research. Is one example. So that's an idea that we can throw on here. I'll type that on here, but we want to hear from you. What are some of the concepts and things that have come up that you'd really like to explore further with your colleagues?
And the easiest way to do it is just to double click onto any of the sticky notes, and you can type directly onto the sticky note. You feel free to use any of them, and if everyone has loads of ideas and we use up all the ones that are on the board, we can always drag some more over from the piles over there on the side.
Thank you guys so much for brainstorming all these ideas. These are really fantastic. So let's just take a quick second to kind of read some of these out ahead of our voting activity. So I think one of the concepts that came up is how to align with your UX team. I think we mentioned tools for remote research, which is another concept. I see an idea here about navigating tough conversations, which I think is probably very relevant. And Joanna, if you wouldn't mind turning off the music for just a second, that'd be wonderful.
Oh, sorry. Is that?
Oh no, you're good.
Is that my music?
Oh, I'm not sure.
I don't.
Okay.
Here, let me mute myself at least.
Okay. Yeah, it might be coming from somewhere else. Sorry. Wonderful. All right, so a couple other concepts and ideas that are on here, tracking research impact, collaboration and adoption brainstorming, plus measurable subjective and objective actions. That sounds really cool. Action plans from this conference to apply going forward, and kind of the synthesis of all that content. My first virtual conference after the pandemic, and I felt like the medium did connect us, but it felt distant as well. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting concept to unpack as well. Cool, there's some really great ideas here. So thank you, Susan, for pulling those over to the side. What we're gonna go ahead and do really quickly is run something that we call dot voting. You all may be familiar with it. It may be a new concept for you. This is sort of a free-form way of voting where we ask you to grab a dot from the right-hand side, and you can place it on as many of the stickies as you think are really relevant. The intention here is that we're going to try and kind of pull out the ideas and concepts that are most interesting to the audience as a whole, so that we can move on to the next stage, which is really, you know, driving forward that conversation, unpacking some of those ideas, and making it really interactive. So please, we're going to go ahead and set another timer. We're going to give you guys, we've intended to give you 2 minutes. If we need more, we can absolutely change it. But I'll go ahead and grab 2 minutes. All you need to do is grab a dot from this pack of dots that we have over here and drop it on as many of the stickies as you'd like to move forward with the conversation in the next phase. So vote on the ideas that are most interesting to you, and I'm going to go ahead and start the timer. Looks like we've got some clear winners, or at least one kind of concept that people want to talk through. Any last minute votes before we dive into the next part of the conversation? So it looks like in terms of ideas, and maybe we've got a two-way tie between the others, so we might need a final tiebreaker. One, you know, is UX remote research tools. So we can kind of talk about some of the tools that you guys are using in your daily lives that you're finding effective for running your UX research and how those are working, as well as potentially, I think, any gaps of tools that you're not seeing. And then it looks like we've got a two-way tie between the topics of action plans from the conference to apply going forward, as well as the collaboration and adoption brainstorming, plus measurable and subjective. So maybe we can kind of include those in a joint discussion, because I think there could be some crossover there. So if you'll go ahead and follow me along, we'll bring you over to the next session of the board, but we're gonna take a handful of minutes here. I think based on our timing, we may have to shorten our kind of breakout sessions, but that's fantastic. This first part has been really fun. We're gonna take a few minutes and again, brainstorm some of the UX remote research tools that you all are using and or finding really helpful in this transition to a remote work force. So if you're following Susan, you can come down here to this other section of the board. We can go ahead and bring you all down here as well. So that you can collaborate. Again, this is meant to be free form, so you guys are all the experts. You can tell us how you want to structure this part of the breakout session, but we're going to go ahead and I think take about 4 minutes right now to make sure that we're brainstorming ideas. So if you, again, we've added a pack of stickies below, grab some stickies, drop it on here to tell us some of the tools that you're using to run your research. Or again, if there's an area, part of your research that you haven't found a great remote tool for, I think that that would be really wonderful to apply here as well. Some of the things that you can do on stickies while you're doing this, if you want to grab a tool here, or sorry, a sticky here, you can also apply tags to those stickies. Susan, if you are driving, if you want to take this blue sticky that I just created and show us how to create a tag, so we can tag, oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say you can just simply click on the sticky note. It'll bring up this header at the top, and you click on tag. What would you like the tag to be, Caitlin?
Yeah, I'm thinking this can be, maybe we can say, useful tools and tools I wish I had, things like that. You guys can come up with the tags, but it's maybe a way that we can use to help kind of cluster our results into things that people are finding really helpful, things that people haven't quite found a good tool for, or maybe tools that people have questions on that your colleagues can help you out with. So you guys, again, come up with the tags. This is your domain, but things that we think might be helpful to help kind of categorize our results. I think this is I see some really good ideas on here. Sometimes there's too many tools to use, looking to consolidate, teams for in-person interviews. I think it can be really hard from what Susan and I do. We work with a ton of customers across a lot of different use cases. Some are UX researchers, some are product teams or development teams. But I do hear that often that people have a lot of kind of disparate tools. Certainly Miro is intended. We've got a ton of kind of robust integrations to help you consolidate that. But I think that this is a good kind of topic and space to talk about, is how are some of you on the line actually addressing some of those problems of having so many tools that you're using? How do you figure out which ones are the best ones? And how do you make that known across your team to ensure everybody's using the same tools, or sharing their thoughts and feedback as you're looking to make improvements? If you want to agree also with, an idea that somebody has put on the board, in the same way that you can apply a tag like Susan was showing, you can actually add emoji votes to them as well. So if something someone says really resonates with you, feel free to do that. You can also feel free to drop a comment on a board, and we can come back and facilitate those as well. This is awesome. Loom and Google Docs, I think, is something that someone was saying. We've used Loom internally as well. It can be a really helpful resource for, I don't know if everybody on the line is familiar with it. It is a way for you to record sessions really easily and seamlessly and share those, where you can see kind of the faces of the participants, but also the screen share. It's a really cool concept. See someone for Zoom and user testing, Miro. Yeah, we've got some integrations that we're testing right now to kind of integrate Zoom onto your Miro boards, as well as seeing a ton of teams doing this. That's awesome. Google Hangouts, I would love to hear more about that. I've seen that they've made a ton of huge enhancements to their interface and the usability there. So I'd love to hear how that's working with you with some of those new features.
Oh, it's interesting to see that people are using Discord rather than Slack for internal chat.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
Lookback.io when it works. I'm curious to hear more about that. If anyone's willing to share a little bit more, I'm not as familiar with lookback.io, so I'd love to hear more about it. Awesome. I'm going to add a couple more minutes. I think we're still getting a ton of great content. It's really fun to hear and see what people are adding on here. So let's add another 3 minutes so that or I guess we'll do 2 minutes. We may not get to the second idea, but I think it's a really fantastic topic that's coming up, and there's a lot of interest and good sharing happening here. Is anybody brave enough to come off mute and talk through some of these verbally, maybe share your experience of how you found best practices for, working remotely and using these tools to help recreate some of the magic that used to happen in person? It's okay if not. I just thought I'd ask.
I could talk, I guess, just about using Google Hangouts.
Yeah, David.
So how I've done it so far is just whether it's in person or remote, both ways, like, like meetings scheduled on the calendar, and I just pull it up and it does a video chat. If it's in person, they just use my laptop, and so it just is basically the screen recording. Or if it's remote, I have them share their screen, like once they have our application up. And then I just, go through the test, and once it's done, the video automatically gets sent, like I get an email.
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, that's how I've been doing it so far.
That's fantastic. What sorts of tools are you using to capture the key insights that you've taken after those sessions and kind of record them? Are you doing that in Google Docs and spreadsheets, or do you have some other tools that are really helpful for kind of aggregating those insights?
Well, most of like the notes I take are, I just, I just write them down. Most of the time, I don't need to review the video. Sometimes I do, if they're like talking too fast, or there's too much detail to capture like in the moment. But after it's all done, I just review my notes. Sometimes I'll need to review the video, and then I just go on InDesign and type everything out for each user testing session, and then I'll change up the data. I'll just take the first task, and I'll group all the tasks together. Then I just go into InDesign and I make an affinity map that way and group everything.
Cool.
So it's a kind of a tedious process. I don't know if there's a faster way than that, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's how I've been doing it.
that's fantastic. If you're interested, we can put you in touch with someone, one of our UX researchers, Edu, who I know, has a couple of different techniques that he's learned. I've seen teams that do this, using a Miro board, of course. That's my domain expertise. But the nice thing is that you can aggregate all of those resources onto one board, similar to what you may be doing in InDesign, where you've got, your video, your embedded kind of Google Docs or Excel spreadsheets, as well as any research and background information, kind of keyword clusters, things like that, and kind of synthesize it all into a single board. But I'd be curious from hearing from any other, experts on the line, what you're finding useful for aggregating and kind of getting that all together. So I know we're coming up close on the end of time. Susan and I were hoping that we could take the last couple of minutes. I apologize we didn't get to the second topic, but I'm glad we got a lot of good content on here. We'll leave this board open, so if you guys want, you can continue to kind of add your ideas and collaborate or explore Miro a little bit further. But we're going to bring you over to a quick retro activity. What we're really hoping to do is, again, in our last 3 minutes here, really just have you throw on the board from this conference, even from the session today. What have you learned? What do you still desire to know? Like, what are some of the outstanding things that you were hoping to learn more about, or this conference has sort of sparked a new interest in? And then what are any of the things that you've taken that you can apply to your future work? So feel free to, add any content ideas on here. Again, we just wanted to get your feedback. It can be the good, the bad, the ugly. You can also, from your toolbar over on the left-hand side, there's a little G that you can see on Susan's window. If you want, you can click that. You can also pull in Google Images, so you can do an image search if you want to have a visual representation of some of these concepts that you're feeling or learning, so feel free to apply that. We welcome all and any feedback or learnings that you have here. I think it is cool that it sounds like there are a lot of kind of common tools and challenges that people, are facing. And hopefully this session or the entire conference is giving you guys a really good platform to kind of learn about some of those and identify some new ways of working or challenges that you can address in different formats, as we're, finding ourselves in a remote working world for a lot longer than I think some of us anticipated. Wonderful. Well, I know our time is coming to an end. We thank you all so much for your participation, for getting on here, willing to, participate in a sort of, unconventional sort of setting, but this was really fun for us. Hopefully you learned a little bit from your colleagues or met some cool people that you can continue the dialogue. If you have any questions about Miro, want to speak with any of our UX researchers on any of the concepts, please feel free to reach out. You've got our contact information, but we've really enjoyed having you guys in this session today. So thank you so much.
Thanks for being brave and speaking up and participating in such an unusual breakout session. We really, really appreciate it.